Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Rise and Play. And if you have followed the previous episodes, I'm trying to experiment a bit with different guests, different formats, still around the theme of leadership. No worries, you're still in the right place. But because I'm going also in my journey as a solopreneur, because in the podcast episode, I covered the journey of founders, people who build companies and studios. I haven't covered actually more solopreneurs, which is also a leadership journey and it's worth looking at closely. And the reason why I have today Matej Lancaric, but he will talk more about what he's doing. I mean, he's very known in the space, but in case somebody doesn't know about him, I let him introduce himself. So welcome, Matej. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Sophie. Thanks for having me. It's quite nice to be on the other side of the podcast, not being the host. But yeah, so a few words about me and myself. So I've been in the industry for 10 years. I'm based in Slovakia. I worked at Pixel Federation for 5 years, took all their games from Facebook Canvas to mobile, soft launch owner and global launch owner of the game. So I learned everything I know there. So it's great experience. Then I joined one other marketing agency here in Slovakia that works with games. But then eventually said to myself, life is short, let's try something else. And that's how I kind of started doing this like full-time UA consultancy. But I was already doing this kind of like side jobs here and there when I was at Pixel Federation and then in the agency as well. And then when I just quit everything, it was a little bit easier, let's call it that way, because I was already doing this for some time. And then I kind of realized it's way better for me to have this kind of flexibility, but we'll talk about that later. So in this, let's call it full-time UA consultancy, I soft launch and global launch around 40 games in the last 7-8 years. And that was just like amazing experience. Learned a lot. I love it. I even have my own creative team of 10 motion designers. So I trust them with my UA life, basically. So a lot of fun, stuff. I still love UA and everything around games. So
It's great
thanks.
to hear about your journey. Thanks for the intro. You share in such a modest way as well what you have launched and helped companies launch. I've done that, and
Yeah.
a little thing that I've done, with my full-time consultancy, and it's something also worth celebrating and look back. But I know as well as entrepreneurs, we never look back; we just look forward and don't take the time to appreciate it. But I
Yeah.
did want to take at least a few seconds to say,
Yeah.
"Hey, you've achieved quite a lot over the past,
thank
7 years."
thank you very much. Yeah, it's when you're alone in this situation, yeah, you don't have that appreciation from your peers or like colleagues, basically. So you're on your own. So it can be a little bit like sometimes a little bit lonely. So thank you. Thank you very much. It
Yeah, well,
means a lot.
I'm joining the club now, and I'm sure we have other future conversation in
Yeah.
our moments of, I don't know, solitude, sorrow, or doubts of
Yeah,
life.
it's great. It's great. It's great. I mean, it can be challenging sometimes, so it's not
Yeah.
always easy.
So here for our listeners, because I want also to give perspective that there are different paths of building your dream business, company, your path as an entrepreneur, and it's not going through the whole route that we know, especially through mobile gaming. You have to pitch, build your team, pitch to your VCs, which is a
Yeah.
bit complicated these days, and then exit your company to 10x and who knows what. And there are other paths. So
Yeah.
I want to start with the start for you. When you decided to go on your own as a full-time consultant, what was the thought process at that time for you that you didn't have? And I'm sure it was not about, sorry, about the company where you were at, but more having a full-time job somewhere. So what was the thought process in transition? I say, okay, I go all in
Yeah.
and I don't know what will happen. If you could travel
Yeah,
back years ago.
I usually follow my gut feeling, and for me, it was the right thing to do at that time. And I usually had this experience. Everybody told me like, "Hey, you need to do this. You can't do that. You can't say this. You can just go in this direction or that direction because we're in a big company." And I was like, "Yeah, well, okay, okay, I can do that." And then I was like, "Okay, well, how about me being myself finally after all these years?" Because then I found out that people actually like what I'm talking about, and even though sometimes it's quite hard to listen to and it's really direct and honest, but that's my way of talking, thinking, doing things. And I suddenly found out there's a lot of people actually what I'm talking about, and people tell it like went from telling me, well, you can't say this and you need to sugarcoat the feedback to say, oh well, we want to listen the honest feedback. We don't want anything else. It's okay, I can do that. I can definitely do that. This is actually me. It's great. So that was like an evolution. I never thought about, okay, well, now I need to do this because I don't know, I want to be rich or whatever else. I mean, it's hard. It's obviously great, but it's really hard. And then, yeah, it just happened because they didn't have any kind of like the situation was a little bit easier for me because I already was doing this before on like on the side. So I already had this kind of smaller clients, smaller studios that I worked with. Obviously, not a lot of them, but still was already like quite okay. And then I said, look, so magic happens when you just jump out of the comfort zone. So let's do it. So we'll see what happens. It's a very good decision, actually.
And I can relate to that, jumping a bit in the unknown, because here today in this conversation, I wanted to also spar with you on some thought process I've had before I've decided to go also solo, not hiding behind a company name, which is quite scary. What if nobody cares about what I have to say because I'm nobody? I'm not,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, you
somebody
don't have the
working at
title.
work. Yeah, exactly. Even at conferences, it's a reality. You walk and you have your own badge with your name and
Yeah.
the company, or your own made up company. But what is it that you do when people don't know you and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to own
Yeah,
it, right?
I know. So, which company are you? I was like, well, my own company. Oh, your own company. I was like, what do you do? Like, oh, you a consultant? Okay, and then I never see this person again. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's life. That's
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
works.
Yeah. And something you mentioned about the struggle of being yourself, I wanted to take a moment on that because the thought process for me, as I've been really going really deep in the topic of leadership for my own journey myself and all I've observed working with several teams, other gaming leaders, I've seen something that is very costly on a personal level is the cost of not being yourself,
Yeah.
professionally and personally. And I was really actually quite more about it to really understand and that dissonance, discrepancy is what's causing you stress.
Yeah.
You get to do what you're not supposed to do. You can't have really the more values that you're meant to have. And it takes a lot of mental efforts to
Yeah.
not be yourself. And this is a game that I'm not criticizing corporation, but they are a system where it's not incentivized to be
Yeah.
yourself.
Exactly.
Let's put it this way. So it becomes quite clear at some point when the cost is so high, then it's like either, I die mentally staying in a
Yeah.
place where I'm not
Exactly.
supposed to be, or what's the alternative, right? Did the same process happen to you, or
No,
does that
yeah, yeah. It
resonate?
was always about. Kind of realized that I just want to be happy, and if life is too short not to be happy, so it's like, okay, well, what can I do differently? And I just want to be happy, so I was like, okay, fuck it, let's just go. I usually don't think too much about like the strategy or anything like thought process. I was like, okay, well, let's do it, and we'll see
Mm,
what happens. Same thing happened with my newsletters. I was thinking about like starting the newsletter for years, and I was like, okay, well, let's do it just now. We'll see how it goes. Let's just go. Let's start. And then the newsletter evolved to something that is like happening right now, and like it has some form and content. It's like just yeah, let's go. Let's go. Well, yeah, we'll figure it out on the way. We'll learn as we
yeah,
go. That's
that's
what I usually do.
that's the mindset also entrepreneurial where we do that as well. We're launching games where we don't really know and we have to launch, test, calibrate, fail fast mentality.
The strategy. Oh well, what do we want to do? What's the strategies? Look, guys, like we launch a game. Usually we have a strategy A, and then everything goes to shit. So it's okay. Well, the whole strategy you can just throw it out of the window. So we need to have like B, C, D, and whatever else. And that's not how it works. Like but some people need to have this like strategy on paper, so they are kind of calm and not stressed because they know what's going to happen. But then I already know, hey guys, like it's going to be way different than what we we have in our plans. I've been in this situation multiple times. Trust me, it's going to be different. And that's not how some people want to see and hear like what's going to happen. But for me, it's oh well, okay. I was in the situation before, so I know what's going to happen. And I'm always kind of like this in different moments. And I think that's something that helps me to make different decisions because I've already seen this. I've already done this
Mm,
before.
mm,
But this is now. I mean, if you asked me this like 8 years ago, I was like, I have no idea.
mm.
so, so now it's definitely easier than what it was before.
You iterated. And then let's travel back before when you started because when you are your own business, you are your own marketing, you know that you have to find your audience. It's a bit weird to be on product in a way, kind of
I know.
analyze yourself is who's my audience, what's my offer, and how do I market myself. And I was wondering what was the UA landscape at that time when you showed up and say, okay, I'm here, I'm doing my things. Did you have a lot of outbounds or outreach, and what was the value that you were offering that others could have their own UI internal team? I don't know if you even thought about that at the time, but what was your experience around all those questions?
Yeah, so honestly, like all the questions you just asked, I had no idea. So who is my audience? I didn't care. Okay, what I'm doing differently? I didn't care. I mean, the landscape was there's a Facebook, kind of one big channel, Google, and then yes, there's a lot of internal teams. But how I kind of started was maybe just sharing content, which is not bullshit. Because when I was attending these conferences, like in the first 2 years of me being in the industry, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then I realized, like, oh wait a second, it's just all fluff all over again. It's nothing useful, nothing actionable. So I said to myself, all right, let's just try to change this. And then I started talking on and then having talks in different conferences, like showing like actual numbers, and people started looking at me, hey, like this guy is actually showing how it should be done. It's like showing numbers. That was quite nice. So I was always in this kind of position where I didn't think about all the things, but I know what I would like to see in these conferences. So I started doing it on
Mm.
myself. So I want to see the numbers. I want to see this. I want to see that. And then I started doing it myself. And then suddenly, well, after years, a lot of other people started to follow this. Thank God. So it was my only like thought process. Okay, let's do something else, and let's share something that is useful for others. So,
Mm.
and then obviously it was me running around. I didn't do any like outreach or cold emails. I'm terrible salesperson. I'm very bad salesperson. I can't sell anything. I rather choose the like path of like sharing content and whatever I kind of do on my daily basis. And some people tell me like, "Look, you should sell this. You should be charging people to actually
Mm.
read this shit." No, it's something that I do, and I want to share this because I think I'm still kind of fortunate enough to be in this position where I am at the moment. So I want to share like as many things as possible to different people, because to help them grow. Because when I started sharing anything in terms of the global launching or soft launch, there was basically nothing. Now you type soft launch and my 7 articles pop out
Mhm.
out of nowhere. But that's great because people are telling me like, wow, this actually helped me to kind of get into like at the end of the soft launch because I read your article. That's amazing. That's how it should be.
Mm.
So that was my kind of way of thinking basically back then.
Yeah, and I can actually describe it more from another lens, which is I just by already like what few 15 minutes in, I get a sense as well how you think and work intuitively. But so intuition is more of a subconscious process of thinking that becomes conscious. So
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of deep thoughts, but maybe not conscious until it crystallizes into okay, let's like what you call the
yeah,
gut feeling to do it. And the fact that you shared something in the space that was a gap that you saw is actually where you create value, right? So even all of that was not thought through this way from your lens. For me, it's
yeah,
quite clear that you deliver the value of what others were not doing because, and also I find myself now being independent, not having to check with a PR team or whatever, and so being independent, that's the value that you can actually get really right into the topic and share and have empathy because you have been in that other position where you were lacking insights. And so when you have empathy with your audience, like over UA and marketers, then
yeah.
you can actually solve a problem that you have had. Usually that's how entrepreneurs start.
I
They
know.
understand a problem and they try to solve it, right?
Exactly. That was like, what problems are you solving? I have no idea. Tell me. And then, like, why would we, choose you and not the other agencies? I don't know. Like, you do whatever you want. If you go with agency, it's fine. If you want to work with me, that's fine as well. When you work with me, I do the job. It's basically me. I work on the campaigns. I create the strategy. It's me you're talking to. And if you work with agency, go for it. It's fine,
Mm.
and it's on you. Like, if we work together, great. I will love it. If we don't, I will love it as well. That's life. That's how it works. So it's like when people ask me, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that.
I love the attitude. something I've learned coming back from India, building relationship is
It
super
is.
key in business, and it's either you're yourself or you're not. And when people have a sense of you, this is what they want, to pick partners they can trust, right? But at the end of the day, we are humans, although we
Exactly.
don't always put it in those words. So when you are consistent in the way you are, to from the start to the
Yeah.
end, then it's okay. I can deal with that person because I have a good sense of who they are, and not, again, like you said, like the bullshit layers, like what is the other agenda, right?
Yeah.
Which with companies sometimes you see, like, am I like being used as a client, taken advantage of? All those
Yeah.
questions. I am overcharged. Will I really get? So that's, I guess, where you break down those barriers by just being yourself.
Yeah, well, I guess that comes as we go, and then we work
Mm,
there with the company, and I worked with the companies, and it's very true. It's a people business, and if you are a dick to a lot of people, then obviously, what can you expect from them? Like how they will behave? Well, exactly the same. So if you're nice and you are kind of like useful and you share like things that can help others, you will get that back. I still
mm,
believe in karma and all of this fun stuff around that. So whatever I want to do to others, I want them to like to behave in the same way to me and the other way around.
mm,
So, and it's kind of like easy.
mm. It's a give and receive.
Yeah.
When you're willing to give, over deliver, you have to trust that it will return in some way. It's like really giving genuinely, right? And that's
Yeah.
what we do by giving content, sharing, because there's a genuine intention to improve an
Yeah.
ecosystem and an industry. And otherwise, why would we do this?
Yeah. And also, like I said, look, I still think I'm kind of like very fortunate to be
Mm,
where I am at the moment. And if I can help other people to improve and learn, I will do it. I will gladly do it. I will just give back whatever I learned to the industry, because it's, yeah, it was, I guess, too good to me in the years.
I have a controversial question. I don't know if it's
Ooh.
controversial, but it's more now. I wonder, what why in your position, when you can really share, go in depth, share the numbers and everything to really help, but for example at conferences you mentioned it's very shallow, it doesn't give actionable insight. Do you have an assumption why it's happening? Is it because no one is setting the bar higher, or there maybe some structural reasons why we can't go that deep and share?
Don't want to go too deep. I had few discussions with different people from different bigger companies saying, stop sharing that knowledge because it's jeopardizing my work. 'Cause this is like the knowledge I have, it's my advantage, and now I'm losing my edge because you're sharing so much, like on the podcast, in the email, or in the newsletters, like blogs. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Seriously, this is the industry we want to live in? Keeping everything to ourselves? No, I'm sorry, but no, that's not gonna happen. And then there's the other way, where you are kind of, you have legal teams, PR teams. I tried to get like many people on the podcast, and they said, look, I can't say almost anything because we have the legal team, and then if I can't say everything I want, it's not gonna add any value. So let's just not do it. But there are
Mm.
other people. Oh well, we just have to be surface level, and that's fine. And
Mm.
yeah, now we are in a good position. So I don't have a PR team. I don't have a legal team. I can say whatever I want and whatever I like. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Obviously, I'm usually gonna piss off a lot of people by saying what I'm saying, but that's fine. I mean, you can't just,
Mm.
you know be you can't, like, there are people that like what you're saying and people that don't like what you're saying, and that's how it's done. Nothing,
Yeah.
there's nothing in between. You just
Yeah.
need to be okay with that.
Yeah, let's get into that. Actually, that's a great topic where it took me a bit of adjustment to get into, because when you hide behind a company name, like you're a representative and
Yeah.
you can criticize me or what I'm saying, whatever, because I represent a company. But when you throw yourself out there with your own name, when people criticize what you do, they criticize you. I
Yeah.
mean, not you as a person, but it touches you. So for me, it took some time to also accept that process. Quite polarizing sometimes. Like you will not resonate with some people, and it's good, it's a good thing, because otherwise you average and just
Yeah.
talking about general things. So you
Exactly.
have to be a bit firm in some direction, and where people will really follow and others who just like, oh, whatever. How have you dealt with that through your journey, or even at the beginning, where I don't know if you pissed some people and they came to you, they insulted you, they hated you, I don't know, I have experienced this a bit on LinkedIn, and I have found a system to
Yeah.
tackle it now. But I wonder what has been your experience.
I was very worried about sharing what I think and the knowledge that I have with others, what about the feedback, about what others will think. Like, is it useful? Is it not useful? It's just because I have very high bar on like different content, and if it's not useful, I was like, ah, Jesus Christ, like why am I even reading this? So I was thinking like, okay, well, if people are exactly the same as I am, then well, why should I even do it? And then when I was talking to different people at different conferences, whatever is kind of like basic or default for me, it's like very knowledgeable and very informative for others. It's like, okay, so I guess let's just do it and we'll see what happens. And then obviously some people didn't like what I was talking about, and they still don't, even nowadays. But I'm at the point where I don't give a fuck about what others think about what I'm talking about. So that's a very good kind of level where I was supposed to be like a few years ago, but wasn't. But it's an evolution. So I was like, okay, well, I really care about what others think, and now where I'm in the position where I don't care. And I think a healthy way of thinking about it is like somewhere maybe in the middle. So you need to still be conscious about what you are saying and not hurt other people. I don't want to hurt anyone. But sometimes it's just, okay, well, this is how it is. And then we can move on. So it was like process kind of evolution of just content sharing, nothing else. I wasn't very much thinking about it. It just happened kind of.
Because you mentioned it was a process, and when it was a time where you did care about what other thing, what happened in between? I don't know how did it affect you. I don't know, in your ego, emotionally, or what was the process to just like now to be a point? I'm very confident, or confident. I don't know if that's the word. I'm confident about what I'm doing. I'm focusing on what I'm doing, and well, if that displeases some people, then be it.
Yeah, so I got quite good feedback when I had talks at the different conferences. That definitely helped me realizing this content is quite useful for a lot of people. So there was always a minority of people like saying, "Oh, well, this is bullshit." And there's okay, if there's more people that is kind of like useful this for, then yeah, I will just keep going. And
Yes.
I kept going. It got better and better. And obviously, when I'm reading whatever I wrote like 8 years ago, it was shit. I was very bad. I mean, it's not still not perfect, but people say, "Oh, well, you have your style." And obviously, well, my style was whatever I had in my mind. I just put it on paper or blog or whatever. Now it's a little bit more structured. Let's call it that way. So again, evolution, but feedback definitely helped. Positive feedback, obviously.
Yeah, that's also another challenge when you are working alone. You don't have a team that is even forced to give you feedback because, you know, that's part of a system, a process. And here you almost have to beg to get feedback to get better, right? Because it's not happening if you're not proactive. You have to look for it. I wanted to touch on personal brand. And what I mean by that is from the outside, you seem to have quite a consistent brand, knowing a bit of you. Consistent, you know, is I'll describe what I see from the outside, right?
Yeah, all right.
But don't give a fuck. I'm just going to be myself. Crazy idea, crazy stuff, and it's also very playful. I saw the newsletter with the rainbow.
Yes.
It's like somebody took. I'm sorry to say that on the podcast, but you inspire me to say that. It's like somebody took some mushrooms and just came out with an idea, and you have a unicorn with rainbow and spreading. And I was like, what is this? But it's super funny and playful. And then you have 2.5 gamers, which is a joke in itself. So there's a lot of humor around it. And I don't know how intentional it was, but there's a lot of humor, jokes, and not taking yourself seriously. Exactly. And you are a marketer as well. So I wonder how much intention was there, or it's just you just try things and see what happens.
Yeah, so I usually try things and see what happens. But when I was thinking about the newsletter and the podcast as well. So let me explain. The newsletter was like, okay, well, I read a lot of newsletters. It's really boring. I mean, it's really interesting and it kind of helps you to grow and learn. Okay, so I have this tip of the week, which is quite short and it's very useful. And then I was like, but then there's the other part of things like nobody's talking about, which is whatever is happening to me as a consultant. So people are, you know, they don't pay invoices. They're just trying to get advantage of me and all of this. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. But how can I kind of package it? Let's call it that. Like, okay, what's like really absurd? What's like the most absurd thing you can ever think? There you go, dancing unicorn. And then I was like, okay, well, how can I even try to put it on like a graphic design or something? I was like, Mid Journey, there you go. And I started just I just started like creating prompts, and that was just the amazing thing that happened to me. Like the AI, I don't need anyone else. I can create different visuals for the newsletters just by myself. And that was also an evolution. Obviously, it went from very shitty type of unicorns. Now it's amazing. So, but I was thinking about the most absurd thing you can ever see. It's a dancing unicorn, obviously. So there you go. That was the first thing. And then we had the 2.5 gamers. I know I knew that we are gonna be Felix, me, and well, Felix, Jakub, and me, obviously. So again, what's the best way how to describe a podcast which is not super serious? Because well, I don't like to be serious. I really like to like just make fun of me. We have a great connection with Jakub and Felix. So I was like, let's again wrap it around something which is more fun, playful. It's not okay. Well, these weeks in games, which is obviously I respected quite a lot. I was like, okay, let's try something else. And then I was like, oh well, why not 2.5 gamers? It's okay. Well, I'm really short. There are guys like super tall. And then also when we are talking about different perspective, which is the gaming part, I play a lot. Jakub plays a lot, but Felix is not playing a lot of that. So he's the half gamer. So it's like multiple different perspectives. And I was just like, okay, this is it. And we just went with it. And in it, like that's the thing. The consistency. That's it. There's even if it's just really shitty at the beginning, you can kind of evolve and create it something from very bad or not exactly as good as it is right now, just by just doing things every week and then just improve, feel whatever other people are kind of like feeling and giving you feedback. Now I'm getting the feedback like, hey, well, the diary of dancing unicorn is the first thing I'm reading in your newsletter. It's like amazing. Perfect. Okay. I love it. So, and also, yeah, the humor, that's me. I'm always laughing, making jokes because, yeah, life is too short to be serious and not to be happy. So, yeah, that's how it should be. That's
Yeah.
how it should be.
And I think this is here again for me as well as I build my brand. The the easiest way is to build it around who you are
Yeah,
inside, right?
exactly.
Because it's then you don't have to overthink it too
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
But you have to own who you are.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Because when again back to the point before is like when people don't like what you're building, it's part of you as well because it's personal, right?
yeah,
But
that's
it's
true.
okay, we evolve in life where nobody you will never find a place where everybody loves you. That's just
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's just how life works. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then the
yeah.
thing is, it's hard, but that's how it should be. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy, like then, yeah, well, I
Mm.
don't like easy things. Hard is good. Challenging, good as well.
And I love the backstory. I didn't know, but I hope it's an exclusive information because no one else asked you that
No.
about the backstory of 2.5 gamers, which I find very funny. And when I saw the unicorn, for me, you talk about happiness. For me, the reason why I started Rise and Play, it's the joy.
Yeah.
I want to work with people that are joyful, things that give me joy, and something that I find joy in doing. And when I saw your unicorn, it gave me joy. So I
That's
just
perfect.
wanted
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's more the image, but
yeah,
that speaks to me. I really like colors, and the
yeah.
neons and the
Yeah.
crazy
that,
pictures. So,
yeah, exactly. Crazy pictures. I mean, if you think about it and like people ask, oh, you built the brand, but I didn't, think about it too much. Just
mm.
kind of happened. But then if you think about yeah, the unicorn really catches the attention. And I mean, you can't overlook. It's just, yeah, but it just happened.
An evergreen creature.
Yeah,
Like I've seen kids crazy about unicorn, and as we grow adults, it hasn't changed.
yeah,
So it's who doesn't like unicorns, really?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
fascinating how. I mean, so good catch.
I mean, yeah, but like you said, let's do things based on the gut feeling. But it's you most probably now it's really conscious. It was subconscious before. Now it's just I kind
Mm,
of know where I should lean
mm,
left or right and what to actually do. Because I mean, usually the conferences are great because you actually talk to people and you get these different perspectives. And these days when we go to the conferences also with the guys and 2.5 gamers, people tell us like, oh well, do whatever you are doing right now. It's really great. It's content. It's yeah. We had this presentation at Ignite a week ago, and everybody was like, oh, best presentation. It almost felt like a stand-up comedy, but combined with like sharing knowledge bombs. It's like
Yeah.
amazing. That's
God
like
damn it!
that's
I
it. That's it.
missed it. I wanted to be at the comedy show. I should have been there. Wanted a
Don't
moment of
worry,
fun.
we'll go on a tour for sure. 100%.
Yeah, but that's, I think, something I've learned as well now creating content. It's very emotional. We need,
Yeah,
as a reader, like something that we connect with, that gives us an emotion, a joy, something that, triggers in us. And there's so many opportunities to push the bar a bit further, even like with more intention when you go on stage. I have approached quite very differently my talks now that I'm independent, because then it's an open box. What if I allow myself to do something I've never done? And
yeah, exactly. You can
uh,
experiment. You can
yeah,
have
yeah,
unicorns, gifs, or whatever else in the
yeah.
presentation. It's gonna be fine. That's it.
Yeah, I did a workshop on site, like 5 minutes, asking people to do very uncomfortable things. It was a whole social
Yeah,
experiment, but it went great, and people remembered the talk from that. So
exactly. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
exactly the thing you give yourself permission to do, when you're not like, oh, what if I do this, and what if that happens, and so
Yeah.
on.
So I always thought about this kind of sentence. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be different. And
Mm.
that's like how I always thought about everything I've done.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not the best at what I do, but I do it differently because I believe you just need to be honest and you need to just
Mm.
share as much as you can. And then, yeah, things happen afterwards.
Mm.
That's it. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's the whole like my thought process about a lot of things that I do these days.
I would even go further, saying, like, not being different, but you can't compete with anyone else being yourself. It
Yeah,
was
that's
actually
true.
Navier Ravikant saying, either you compete with the rest of the world or you compete with yourself, but no one else can be better than yourself to be yourself, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And that's how you are different.
that's very true.
It's
Yeah,
it's much easier to be different by being yourself than being just different. So, which you are doing. I just wanted to, connect the dots
connect the
here,
dots.
because
Yeah,
you may
that's
not
true.
see it yourself as you are in it.
No, I usually overlook a lot of things, and then
Yeah, yeah,
suddenly,
yeah.
yeah, people just come to me and like the conference, like I mentioned. Oh wow, I read all your content; it's amazing. Please just keep doing what you're doing. And this is exactly what if I
Mm,
hear that, okay, this is great. This is encouraging. This is
yeah.
very encouraging.
Which leads me to, by the way, I need to drag you to IGDC next year. You must
No,
go.
yeah, I wanted to go this year as well, but this
Yeah.
2 years old daughter as well, and then I'm going to Korea next week, and
Mm.
I really wanted to go. I was talking to the organizers, and I said I'm gonna go there next year, 100%.
So for
So
the listeners, you heard it, because
yeah,
when I was there, I saw quite a lot of community following content, like from your
nice,
podcast, UA, on my
nice.
content. And so they will hear this.
Hmm,
So they'll remember and
that's
tag back to
perfect.
that episode today.
Nice,
I wanted to
love
touch
it.
on then another topic as a solopreneur: success. I don't even know if you think about it, but it's always, for me, the thought process when I decided to go by myself is, I can't, again, measure myself with a metric of the rest of the world.
Yeah,
Whereas, have you built a company that make an exit and make
yeah,
millions, etc., revenues, and also you share some numbers as well. Maybe we get into that.
yeah,
When you decided to go by yourself, and even today, I don't know if you think about success, but what is good to you and what is important despite all of what you're doing, right? Because you're doing good from external, but I don't know if you even care, because
yeah.
what is your metric of success for you?
Yeah, for me, the metric of success is being able to work anytime in the day, basically the flexibility. So me being able to spend 60-70% of the day with my daughter, that's success. I don't care about money. It's just like the motivation was never about money, and I think it's a very dangerous thing. So yeah, success, I've never thought about success until the point of, okay, well, I want to spend time with my family and not being kind of forced to work like 10, 12, 15 hours a day. Like that's not life. There's, oh well, there's work life balance, whatever else. I don't buy that too much. The thing is, if you love what you do, it's just part of the life. So there's not work life, it's just life. That's it. So, and then success, yes, me being able to work in the morning, going for a walk with my wife and daughter, then just spending time with them, and then obviously in the night when it's the quiet time, I can do work. I don't like 9 to 5, honestly. So this is success for me. was always about me being able to do whatever I want, basically, and whenever I want,
Mm.
and even wherever I want. If I was in Bali for a month or two working from there, I was in. Yeah, we usually go to California, to Santa Barbara for 2 months, and I can work from there because, well, I don't need to be in the office. I can be
Mm.
wherever.
And your family is going with you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah,
saw
yeah.
some photos and
Yes,
video,
yeah,
and which is amazing because you
yeah,
solve a problem like when you have to travel. What if I travel with my family? If,
yeah,
of course, your spouse has flexibility, but then, then you
yeah.
can be there, do the work in a nice
Exactly.
place, and then your family also, I guess, to enjoy it.
Exactly. And that's I think that's like how I define success. Obviously, different people define success differently, which is obviously that's fine. Yeah. And then this makes me happy. So it's, as I
Mm.
said, it's all about happiness. It's all about like how you can kind of enjoy life. Because if you're suffering, that's not life.
I agree. And that's something I really reflected on talking to quite many entrepreneurs. I mean, some that were in the podcast and some were not. And sometimes I really wonder why all the hustle, really carrying a weight, like not feeling happy and going for that infinite pursuit of something. So
Yeah.
you spend your life chasing something without actually being here now with
Yeah.
what you have, right? Because tomorrow, who knows? You may
Yeah. Who
not
knows?
be
Yeah.
even
Exactly.
there 20 years forward for
Yeah.
all your hard work because, life
Things change.
happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just don't get me wrong. This is what it is at the moment. So I've like if I go back 8 years ago, then obviously the structure of work was different. I was working a
Mm.
little bit more than what I'm working at this
Yes.
point, but still, kind of like the main goal for me was to learn as much as I can. And honestly, being an UA consultant, you learn really quickly because you work with different
Yeah, it's
companies, different
amazing.
games, different budgets, teams. So it's different challenges. It's great. But also it's hard because how you can kind of find these companies to actually work with them. So it's not always rainbows and
Yeah.
whatever else.
Yeah. And
So
let's touch on that as maybe last part. Okay, looking back 7, 8 years, I know it's a lot of time, and it's true that I catch you in at the end of a process where everything is chill, like life
oh
is
well,
good.
life is good, but nothing is chilled. Just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, wait a second. You still, I think I still need to work way more than I had to the 8 years ago because
Oh.
the market is different and it's so many more people kind of like in this like nowadays like everybody's a consultant. Oh, I'm doing consultancy, so it's like a lot of different people out there, which is
Mm.
great. But it's not, oh well, now I just chill and now I don't do anything else, and then just this train is already leaving
Mm.
the station. Now it's even like more hard work these days. It's just I already am a little bit more efficient than I was before, and the time management, I mean, time management for me, it needs to be perfect. There's nothing else. If something kind of changes, I need to just change the whole day or 2 days, and I
Mm.
usually have plans 1 week ahead. If I want to have a call, I need to have 24 hours ahead so I can like plan ahead and not
Mm.
be like, oh well, let's just jump on the call right now. But if one thing disappears from that schedule, it's like a domino effect basically. So but yeah, that's way more efficient than I was before. But yeah, more content, more like different podcasts, newsletters,
Mm-hmm.
blogs, different things. Yeah, people ask like, how do you even like work, like when do you work? Well, sometimes, like I said, I work in the morning, sometimes I work in the night. I should be sleeping, but I'm working. But I'm completely fine with that because if I wasn't, I would be just sleeping. I
Mm-hmm.
would find
Mm.
some other time to work. So it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's an evolution again. And I still think I need to work. Or not, I need to. I just want to work. So I just want to be still relevant and still kind of
Mm.
share as much as I can.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's not as easy
Yeah.
as it
So you
sounds.
stay on your toe. And I
Yeah, yeah,
understand that
always,
because you have
always,
to rely only mostly on yourself, right?
exactly.
As a again solopreneur, although you have a team and so on, but you have a driver
Yeah,
of your own, of your own car, like the main driver. And something I wanted to ask about that time
yeah,
management, which is quite interesting, and I'm still figuring out what is a good proportion for me. Like before we recorded, I said like right now for me it's
yeah,
all over the place, but I manage to deliver consistently, so that's good. But how do you quick percentage estimate? How do you divide the time between content production, actual work, working with clients,
yeah,
and I put another bag, which is business, relationship, like explaining when people contact you, making
Yeah,
future
yeah.
work.
Yeah, I still think right now, I think like 70% of the time is still work. Then the
Mm-hmm.
rest is content. The work is kind of the business communication and everything. It's still I still count that as a part of the work. So 30% is content. And
Mm-hmm.
it was more before because again, now I have kind of way how to do things and I know how to write a little bit better. So I got better. Also like the
Mm-hmm.
newsletter, it's an hour, maybe 2 hours a week. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can find those 2 hours. You can find those. You just the thing is like when my wife is in the living room watching Netflix, I'm kind of writing. So sometimes I just write because I want, and it feels great, and it makes me happy. So it's like also like part of relaxation type of thing. So, but you need to love what you are doing. If you're not, then obviously you would choose something else. That's why I wanted to do a million things, but I had to force myself. So I dropped it because
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel natural. The newsletter, it felt supernatural. Sometimes I write an article and it's like an hour or 2 hours. It's great. And then I write five in a week because I get these. I mean, it's weird and funny at the same time. It's like this like inspirational. I don't know how to even call it. Just suddenly I get inspired by. I know how and what to write in like 5 articles, and then a month nothing, and then
Mm-hmm.
suddenly the burst. Oh well, I know. Let's do this, and then I find time immediately, and I can put everything else just on the side, and then okay, well, I'm done now. I can do different things. But back to your question: 70% work, 30% content,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's a very quick and dirty math.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's good to know the ratio. And at your point today,
Yeah.
uh, actually, my very last question: what is the thing you wish you knew, looking back 7, 8 years ago? Yeah, that you didn't know.
No, and it's a very similar question that people ask. What would you change if you were, at the same
Mm-hmm.
point and back in time? I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't. I also don't think if there is something I wish I would knew. I would know. Things happen because they are meant to happen, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the whole journey that kind of led me here. If I knew
Mm-hmm.
something back then, it would be just a very different path. And I'm super happy about like how things went and where I'm at the moment. So I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't know something differently. That's it.
That's great. Well, I think we've covered your journey as a
Nice.
solopreneur. And what I appreciate is we didn't talk about any metrics and numbers. That was not the point. Although you could brag quite a lot about it, but that's not the point today
Yeah.
because that was the focus as well on you, on your journey. And I think it's telling more than the result. The result are the results, right?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you probably at some more conferences where
Definitely.
I'll take some inspiration of a comedy stand. I don't know if that's my vibe, but I'm trying different things. I've been trying, so I've also been inspired by just putting a bit more some personal aspects of myself on stage. So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you as well at future events.
You will see. You will find the way. So if something
Mm,
feels natural, then you will just do it a little bit more, more and more, step by step.
yeah.
That's how it is.
That's the takeaway for me today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Sophie, for having me. Bye bye.
Bye bye.